I never thought I'd start my wedding night with a lie. But there I was sitting across from my brand new husband, a man whose cold, dark eyes were worth more than my entire family's future, telling myself I wasn't terrified. The bizarre part? My pulse wasn't racing from fear of him. It was racing because his hand brushed mine when he signed the last page of our marriage contract, and the world tilted as though I'd stepped into someone else's story. I married a man I barely knew, a billionaire CEO who could crush empires with a phone call, a stranger who wasn't supposed to look at me like I was both his punishment and his salvation. And all of it, every breathless second, was because of one thing: debt. My family's debt. The kind that suffocated. The kind that left my father's eyes hollow and my mother's hands trembling at the dinner table. The kind that meant the only way out was me. So when Alexander Knight walked into my life, sharp suit, colder heart, and an offer that felt like a trap disguised as mercy, I said yes. Not because I wanted to, not because I loved him, but because my family needed saving, and he was, the only man who could pay the price. The crazy thing? He didn't want me for love either. At least that's what I thought. He wanted a wife for reasons I didn't dare ask about. Appearances, control, maybe revenge on the world that once hurt him. I told myself it didn't matter. All I had to do was survive him. But the moment I stood before him in that glittering empty ballroom, our vows echoing like ghosts, I realized surviving him might be the hardest thing I'd ever have to do. Because Alexander Knight wasn't just cold. He was obsession wrapped in human skin. Look at me. His voice was low, a command that curled against my skin like smoke. I lifted my gaze, my throat tight. He didn't smile. He never smiled. Instead, his eyes pinned me like he was memorizing the exact shade of my fear, or maybe the exact shape of my defiance. "You're mine now," he said simply. And just like that, the air between us became something dangerous. I wanted to scoff, to remind him this was nothing more than a transaction. But my lips wouldn't move. Because the way he looked at me, it wasn't about contracts. It wasn't about debt. It was hunger, sharp and quiet, as if he'd been starving for years, and suddenly found the one meal he could never let go. The night should have ended there with a toast, a driver, and separate rooms. That was the deal. But when he placed his hand on the small of my back, guiding me toward the waiting car, I felt the weight of something more. Heat. Possession. A vow that was deeper than any word spoken before witnesses. I told myself it was nothing. Just nerves. Just my imagination spinning out of control. But when we arrived at his penthouse, floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the city like a kingdom, and he closed the door behind us, my heart stuttered, because the look in his eyes had changed. This wasn't business anymore. "You think I married you for convenience?" His words were quiet, almost thoughtful, as he loosened his tie and tossed it onto a chair. "That's what you told me," I whispered, hating how small my voice sounded. In his world of marble and steel, he stepped closer, too close. The scent of his cologne, dark woods, and something I couldn't name wrapped around me like a spell. I lied. My breath caught, because suddenly every rule I'd made for myself, every line I'd drawn to keep from drowning, blurred, and, for the first time since saying I do, I realized something terrifying. Alexander Knight didn't just want me as his wife. The silence inside his penthouse feels alive. It hums in my ears like the city below is holding its breath right alongside me. Alexander moves with that same unnerving grace I noticed the first time I met him, like every inch of space belongs to him already. He doesn't need to claim it. He simply is the claim. I try to ground myself, to remind my legs they belong to me, not him. But the echo of his words won't leave me. I lied. He lied about convenience. lied about keeping me at arm's length, lied about every reassurance I had clung to when I said yes. Why? My voice cracks before I can steady it. Why would you marry me if this wasn't just business? He turns to the bar, pours himself a drink. Crystal clinks against crystal, sharp in the quiet. He doesn't look at me when he answers. Because I don't like sharing what I want, he says. And then he does look at me. That gaze, dark, deliberate, unflinching, sinks under my skin like a brand. I step back before I even realize it. The edge of the glass coffee table nudges the back of my knee. My body is betraying me, pulling away when my mind can't seem to stop leaning toward him. Alexander. I try to sound firm, unshaken, but my name on his lips interrupts. Say it again. The way he says it, low and rough, makes my stomach flip. What? I whisper. My name. Like that. I swallow. Hard. This is a game, it has to be. His power pressed against my vulnerability, waiting to see which will crack first. I shake my head, forcing air back into my lungs. You're insane if you think I'll play along. A ghost of a smile touches his mouth, so brief I almost imagine. Not insane, patient. He sets the glass down untouched and walks toward me, each step deliberate, slow, like a hunter who knows the prey has nowhere to run. I back up until my shoulder blades kiss the wall of glass, the city glittering like diamonds beneath us. He stops inches away, his hand lifting, not touching but hovering, near my cheek. The heat of him is unbearable. My skin tingles with anticipation, a betrayal of everything I swore I wouldn't feel. Why me? The words rush out before I can stop them. His jaw tightens. For a heartbeat, I think he won't answer. Then, soft, almost reverent, because you don't see me the way they do. The confession is a whisper, but it shatters something inside me. I expected arrogance, not vulnerability. I expected a command, not a truth so raw it steals my breath. I want to push him away. I want to demand he stop. But my hand lifts of its own accord, brushing the fabric of his suit jacket. Solid. Real. And underneath, a man whose edges aren't as sharp as he pretends. The shift between us is terrifying. Because suddenly I see not just the billionaire, the obsession, the danger. I see the man, and it's so much harder to hate him. You don't know me. I murmur, shaking my head like I can will the moment away. I know enough, he says, his voice steady, resolute. I know that when you walked into that ballroom, you weren't afraid of me. Not really. You looked at me like I was human. Something in my chest twists. He's wrong. I was afraid. I still am, but maybe not for the reasons I thought. My lips part, ready to argue, when the sound of my phone buzzing in my clutch slices through the tension. The sharp reminder of the outside world, my family, the debt, the reason I'm here in the first place. I flinch, pulling away. His hand drops back to his side, the spell breaking. You should answer it, he says. His tone clipped again, the vulnerability gone as quickly as it came. I fumble with the clasp, grateful for the excuse to breathe again. It's my sister's name flashing on the screen. My stomach knots. I can't answer here. Not with him watching. I'll call her back, I say, slipping the phone away. His eyes narrow, as though he can read every secret I'm holding on to. Then, without another word, he walks to the far end of the room, giving me space but never truly releasing me. Because even with distance between us, I feel his presence like a weight, like a promise. And as I stand there, the city sparkling beneath our feet, I realize something dangerous. I may have married Alexander Knight for money, for survival, but it starts with silence. The kind that isn't empty but charged, like the air right before a storm. For the rest of that night, Alexander doesn't touch me again. He doesn't press, doesn't demand. doesn't even look at me the way he did before my sister's call shattered the moment. Instead, he pours another drink, settles on the couch, and drowns himself in papers spread across the glass table. I should be relieved. But relief is the last thing I feel, because every stolen glance in his direction only deepens the ache of unanswered questions. Why me? Why now? And what happens when a man like Alexander Knight sets his sights on something, or someone, he refuses to lose? By midnight, the exhaustion wins. I slip away into the guest room, close the door, and collapse against it with a shaky breath. Safe. At least for tonight. Except, I don't sleep. I toss. I turn. I stare at the ceiling as the city lights filter through the curtains. My body feels restless, like it hasn't caught up with the truth my mind is desperately trying to ignore. He wants me. Not the contract, not the appearance. Me. When I finally drift off, it's into uneasy dreams, filled with his voice, his hands, his unflinching eyes. Morning comes too soon. I pad into the kitchen, barefoot, my hair a tangled mess, praying he's gone to work. But of course he's there. Shirt sleeves rolled, tie loose, coffee steaming in a porcelain cup. He looks nothing like the polished CEO the world worships. He looks human, tired, almost vulnerable, if not for the sharpness still etched into his every movement. His gaze flicks to me, lingering a fraction longer than necessary. Sleep well? I stiffen at the casual question, but nod. Fine. A pause, then softly, you're lying. Heat crawls up my neck. Excuse me? He doesn't smirk, doesn't tease. He just studies me like he can see through every layer I've built. You dream when you can't sleep, he says, voice low. It shows in your eyes. What did you dream of? My breath catches. It's too much, too intimate. That's none of your business. But instead of pushing, he leans back against the counter, sipping his coffee. Fair enough. I should walk away. I should go back to my room and remind myself this isn't real. But something about the morning light spilling across the marble, floors catching in his dark hair, makes me pause, makes me soften. Why are you doing this? The question tumbles out before I can stop it. His brow lifts. Doing what? This. Pretending this marriage is more than what it is. You said you wanted convenience, a wife on paper. I agreed. So, why? My voice falters. Why look at me like that? For a moment, silence stretches between us. He sets his cup down, walks toward me slowly, as though giving me time to stop him. I don't. When he's close enough that I can feel the warmth radiating off him, he speaks. Because the moment you said yes, you became mine. His hand lifts, hesitates, and then finally brushes a strand of hair from my face. His touch is feather-light, almost reverent. And I don't share what's mine. The words should terrify me. Maybe they do. But they also steal the strength from my knees. Alexander. His name slips out on a whisper, softer than I mean it to. He hears everything in it anyway. The fear, the pull, the truth I don't dare admit. For the first time since we met, his expression cracks. The steel in his eyes gives way to something raw, something unguarded. You think I'm cold, he says, his thumb grazing my cheekbone. And maybe I am. But not with you. Never with you. My chest tightens. It's too much. Too soon. But the sincerity in his voice, the unshakable intensity in his gaze, breaks something loose inside me. Before I can stop myself, I whisper back the truth that's been clawing at me since the wedding. I don't hate you. The words hang in the air, fragile and dangerous. His breath hitches, barely, but I hear it. Then he leans closer, so close I can feel the warmth of his lips hovering just above mine. The world stills. My pulse hammers. One tilt forward and it will happen. The first kiss. The first step into something I swore I'd never allow. I want it. God, I want it more than I should. But before our mouths can touch, the sharp chime of his phone cuts through the air. He freezes. His jaw tightens. Slowly, he pulls back, leaving me cold in the sudden absence of his nearness. The phone buzzes again, on the counter. A name flashes across the screen. I catch it before he does. Elena. My stomach knots. I don't know who she is. I don't want to know. But the look that crosses his face when he sees the call, it's not indifference. And suddenly, I realize something far more dangerous than his obsession. I'm not the only ghost in his past. The name on his phone burns itself into my mind. Elena. He silences the call without answering. No explanation. No flicker of guilt. Just a quiet finality as he sets the phone face down on the counter. But the damage is already done. My chest feels tight, my breath jagged. I don't know who she is, what she means, but I know enough. Because obsession isn't the same as love. Obsession can hold you like a vice, and still leave room for ghosts you can't compete with. I take a step back. He notices instantly. You think she matters, he says, his voice measured, deliberate. I don't think anything. I snap, though the tremor in my voice betrays me. You don't owe me explanations. Remember? This isn't real. The words cut, but they're aimed at me as much as at him. If I believe them, maybe I can claw my way back to safety. But Alexander doesn't flinch. He stalks toward me, each stride quick, sharp, until my back hits the wall. My heart slams against my ribs. His hand slams against the glass beside my head, caging me in. Don't lie to me, he growls, low and furious. You care. I can see it in your eyes. I glare at him, every nerve in me screaming to push back, to fight. But the fire in his gaze is unbearable, consuming, and the worst part is he's right, I do care too much. Why me? My voice cracks under the weight of it. Why pretend I'm different from the rest? Why drag me into this if all you want is... All I want is you. The confession rips out of him like it's been tearing at his insides for years. His other hand catches my wrist, pressing it against the glass beside my head, holding me there. Not painfully, but firmly, enough that I can't escape. You think I don't know this marriage was a transaction? His words are rough, but his eyes are blazing. You think I don't know you only said yes to save your family? That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why you walked into my life. What matters is you're here. And now I can't. He breaks off, his jaw tightening as though the words themselves could destroy him. I can't let you go. My throat closes. My body burns where his touch pins me. This is wrong, I whisper. Though the conviction is gone, then let it be wrong. His face lowers, his lips hovering a breath from mine. Tell me you feel nothing. Tell me, and I'll stop. The silence between us is deafening. My pulse thunders in my ears, my body betraying every defense I've built. I open my mouth, ready to push him away with the lie he's begging me to tell. But nothing comes out, because the truth is lodged in my chest, pounding against my ribs. Do feel something. His grip loosens just enough to let me choose. His eyes search mine, raw, unguarded, almost desperate. And in that sliver of vulnerability, I break. My free hand lifts, trembling, brushing against his jaw. The roughness of his stubble grazes my fingertips, grounding me in a reality I don't want to admit. Alexander. My voice is a plea, a warning, a surrender all at once. And then his mouth crashes against mine. The world falls away. It isn't soft or tentative. It's fierce, consuming, years of hunger packed into a single kiss. His hand slides to the back of my neck, pulling me closer while my body presses against his like it's the only place I belong. I should resist. I should fight. But instead I melt, every inch of me unraveling under the force of him. When he finally pulls back, his breath ragged, His forehead rests against mine. "You're mine," he whispers again, not as a command this time, but as a confession. I close my eyes, my chest heaving. For one impossible moment, I let myself believe it. That maybe I could belong to him. That maybe obsession could feel like love. But then I remember the name flashing on his phone. Elena. The reminder slams into me like ice water. I shove against his chest, breaking the spell. His eyes snap open, confusion darkening into anger. "What are you doing?" "I can't." My voice trembles, but my hands are steady as I push him away. "I won't be another ghost for you to keep." For the first time, his control slips. His eyes flash, his jaw hardens, his voice is steel. "There is no one else." "Then prove it," I whisper. "Because if I'm just another name in your phone, another woman you can't let go, then I'll walk away. Contract or not." The silence that follows is brutal, and in it I realize something terrifying. I may have just pushed the only man who ever truly wanted me. The apartment feels impossibly small. The air thick with everything we haven't said, everything we've dared to feel. Alexander stands across from me, jaw tight, eyes stormy. The name on his phone is still in the air between us like a phantom, but now it doesn't matter, I can feel it. He can't hold me at arm's length anymore. "Tell me you'll leave," he says, voice low, dangerous. "Say it. Just walk out that door and I'll let you go." My chest heaves. Part of me wants to run. Part of me wants to vanish into the city lights and forget the obsession, the danger, the magnetic pull of him. But I can't. Not now. Not ever. Instead, I take a step closer. My hand lifts, trembling, and I press it to his chest, feeling the hard strength beneath the suit, the heartbeat beneath the control. "I can't," I whisper. Something in him snaps. The tension in his body goes from controlled fire to molten heat. He closes the distance between us in 2 steps, trapping me against the wall. The city outside blurs into insignificance. Only him. Only the way he looks at me. Like I am all he has ever wanted and all he could ever need. "You're mine," he growls, voice thick with need and something deeper, almost vulnerable. Not because of a contract, not because of debt, because I can't. He swallows, struggling for words he's never allowed himself to speak. "Because I don't want anyone else." The honesty in his voice hits me like a thunderclap. Years of fear, control, and obsession distilled into one raw, unguarded moment. I lift my face, my lips trembling as I finally meet his gaze. "Then show me," I whisper. "Show me I'm the only one. That I'm enough." The space between us vanishes. His hands cradle my face, thumbs brushing my cheekbones, fingertips tangling in my hair. He leans down slowly, deliberately, giving me a heartbeat to pull away if I dare. But I don't. I can't. When his lips finally brush mine, it's gentle, questioning, a delicate promise. The world tilts. The heat between us blooms into something fierce, something undeniable. Every barrier we built, every contract, every fear, every carefully constructed defense, melts away beneath the weight of this kiss. He pulls back just enough to catch my gaze. "Do you understand?" he murmurs, forehead resting against mine. "There's no one else, there's only you." The words settle into me warm and undeniable. I close my eyes and let the truth seep in. I'm not just a transaction. I'm not just a name on a piece of paper. I'm his. I believe you. I breathe, and with that confession he devours me again. Not violently, but fully, completely. His hands slide to my waist, pulling me flush against him. My arms wrap around his neck, fingers tangling in his hair, holding on as if letting go would undo everything. Time collapses. The city, the contracts, the debts, all fade into nothing. It's just us. 2 flawed, desperate people finally letting the other in. When we finally break apart, gasping for breath, his forehead rests against mine again, and I can feel the tremor in his chest. The raw, human vulnerability beneath the armor. "You're safe," he whispers. "I'll never let anyone touch you the way the world did before. I'll protect you. All of you. Not for duty. Not for control. For me. For us." A laugh slips out of me. A shaky, incredulous laugh that turns into tears. I thought I was buying my family's future. I didn't realize I'd be saving myself. He smiles then. Not the controlled, rare smile he flashes to the world. This one is private, tender, unstoppable. And it's mine. "I've been waiting. A long time for this," he murmurs, brushing a tear from my cheek with his thumb. "Waiting for someone who could see past the walls I built. Waiting for you." And suddenly, the fear that has clung to me since the day we married evaporates. The obsession, the tension, the danger, it's transformed into something enduring, something real, something that feels like home. I bury my face against his chest, listening to the steady drum of his heartbeat, knowing that nothing, no contract, no debt, no past, can take this away. "I'm yours," I whisper. "Only yours." "And I'm yours," he says, voice husky with emotion. "Only yours. Always." The city stretches out beneath the glass walls of his penthouse, glittering like stars. But none of it matters. Because here, in this moment, we are infinite. And, finally, for the first time, I understand the dangerous, intoxicating truth of obsession turned into love. When it's real, it doesn't consume. It completes. The night falls around us, the world waiting outside, but inside we exist in the only place that ever mattered. Together, whole, unshakable. And I know without a doubt that nothing, no past mistakes, no lingering ghosts, could ever take us apart again.